This is Rick Hager dialing in from my home here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've got people from all over North America that have dialed in here today, and our message today is going to center around how to use the webinar system that we have put into place. Now, when I say how to use the webinar system, I'm not saying that that's the only tool that we use. I want to come right out of the chute saying that. There are a variety of different tools that are available to us here to build our business. You may have your sponsor, your upline leadership. They have put together different tools. There are a variety of different things that you can use to build your business. I'm only going to speak today about this particular tool and a way that you could use it and have it be effective for you in the building and the development of your business. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I love webinars. There are some very powerful benefits to utilizing these webinars in your business building efforts. And so we're going to discuss that and share some ideas and some thoughts on how you can make that happen for yourself. Let me just share with you firstly what a webinar is. For anyone that is new on the line that maybe is not familiar with what the concept of a webinar is basically an online presentation. It is a visual and audio presentation that is reviewed online. And it can also be, because of technology today, it can be reviewed on your computer, of course. If you're at home and you have a computer, you can get in front of the computer, you can watch it there. Or you can also have it streamed to your devices like your phone, your iPhone, your Android, and your tablet, iPad if you have one, or other type of tablet. The system that we're using right now does all of that. If you register for it, and you click the appropriate link and get started at the start time, you can watch it on any of your devices, which I think is pretty awesome. You could literally be out somewhere during the course of your evening, and when the webinar does remind you that it's time for the webinar to start, you can go ahead and watch it from the park or from the ball game. You can be there while this event is happening and going on. So I think that it is universally accessible. And that is really what a webinar is. It's an online presentation that you can watch with visuals and audio that basically can be streamed through a computer or a device. And it's a great presentation tool. Let me share with you, if I could, some of the reasons why I like webinars as a tool to use in building and developing your business. Number one, it can be an excellent, excellent first exposure. And what I mean by that is that when you're talking to a prospect, when you invite a prospect to take a look, see if they keep their options open. If they say, yes, I'm open, you can invite them to the next upcoming webinar. And what I like about the webinar as a first exposure is that it paints the big picture. Sometimes if we only use something that is product-oriented or only business-oriented, sometimes it can skew a person's perception a little bit. But with a webinar, you have the opportunity to make a balanced presentation. They see the big picture, the company, the products, and the opportunity, and they just get a little bit more on that first exposure. And that could set their mindset up properly going forward. But in addition to that, it gives the appearance that there is a system in place. See, a prospect is always thinking in their mind, if I got involved with this, what would I be doing? How does this work? What would I do? And if you have a webinar that you go ahead and you get them connected to, in their mind they're thinking, wow, this is a system. I could do this. I could invite people to this presentation. That's easy for me. If to do this, if all I have to do is invite people to these types of presentations where they're kind of automated and they're online every night, people can watch it through their device, that will work for me. So what happens is the webinar is a great first exposure because it paints the big picture, a balanced presentation, but it also offers the appearance of a system, an organized system, which causes the prospect to feel, hey, I could do this, I could do that. A second reason that I like the webinar concept, and to piggyback off of what I just said, is that it's highly duplicatable. Anyone can invite someone to get on a webinar. It's very simple, easy, and fun to do. Mary, if you want to learn more about this exciting opportunity, there's going to be a webinar tonight at 7:30 or 6 o'clock or whatever the time might be. There's going to be a webinar. You need to log into this and register for it, and it's free, and it's less than 30 minutes. Okay? And so it's highly duplicatable. Anyone can dive in and start using these immediately with very minimal training. The third reason that I like the webinar is that the system that we're currently using right now, the platform that we're using, does offer a playback if the person or the prospect misses the webinar. Now, we know that a lot of times, most times in fact, when we invite a prospect to review a tool, many times they just don't get to it right away. Many times they say they will, but life gets in the way. Maybe it's not a priority. Maybe it's how we set it up without an urgency. But for whatever reason, a lot of times prospects just will not jump onto what it is that we put in front of them right away. What I love about the platform that we're using is that if they register for this webinar, if they register for it, and for whatever reason they forget, or if they decide not to watch it or something comes up, the system will then, after the webinar is over, it will give them a 48-hour window that they can go back and watch the replay. Okay? So it does give them the opportunity to review it even if they missed it the first time. And the next thing that I would say here with point number 4 of why I like the webinars is that this system, this platform that we use, it actually helps us to follow up and remind prospects. Okay? What do I mean by that? Well, when your prospect registers for the webinar, the system will immediately kick them out an email that says, thank you for registering for this webinar. Please click this to confirm. So they do have to do a confirmation. And once they do the confirmation, it sends them an email that says you are registered for this webinar. It gives them all the details and the link they have to click at the right time. But what it will also do is 2 hours, I believe it is, before the webinar, it sends them a reminder email. In addition to that, 5 minutes before the webinar starts, if they register and include their mobile phone number, it will kick them out a text message. So the system literally will help to remind your prospects. Now, I've always had challenges with that. I'm sure that you have. Maybe you have a call or a web meeting that's coming up tonight or tomorrow night, and you invite someone, you give them the details, but now you've got to keep following it up because people forget. Well, this system that we're using, the platform that we're using right now, helps us with that. It shoots them an email, it texts them 5 minutes beforehand, and that helps them to remember that they have this web meeting. And then, of course, if they miss it, then it will send them an email afterwards telling them that they have up to 48 hours to review the replay. And then it'll send them another one if they don't watch it, saying that your time to watch the replay is almost up. And so it really helps with our follow-up, our setup, our follow-up, and I just love the fact that we can get a little bit of leverage that way with this system. So those are some of the reasons why I like a webinar as a main tool to build your business around. Let me share with you another concept here that I think is important. I want to talk with you about the concept of a live webinar or a live event versus something that's recorded. Because a lot of people like to use recorded stuff, and that's great. I use it too. I think that kind of tool is very important to have because people's schedules are different. They're on, they're off. But with that being said, I truly believe that a live event is far superior than a recorded event. Now, on the surface, the recorded event, if it's a recorded call, a recorded web meeting, or a video, those are excellent, but what happens is when you send something like that to a prospect, the question is, do they put a seriousness on it? Oh, listen to this recorded overview or watch this video. Is there any level of seriousness to it? Prospects many times think, well, it's a recording, I'll get to it later. If it's a video on YouTube, I'll get to it later, okay? And so you don't have the urgency. With something that is live, that is taking place tonight, there's an urgency, there's a seriousness, there's a better dynamic. If they know that there are other people involved with this event, you get a better dynamic than if it's just a video or something that they can take a look at later. Now, sometimes we can't help it. Sometimes we need to have recorded information for them to review. If they work odd hours, if for some reason they just can't make it. But what I'm saying is, from a mainstream standpoint, always try to move people to the live event because the live event is always going to have more power than something that is recorded. Don't take the easy way out. A lot of times what will happen is a distributor or a partner will take the easy way out and they're always just sending recorded stuff because it's a little bit more work to connect someone to something that's live. It's just easy to send someone a recording. But realize that your results will always be better if you have people connecting into something live because of the urgency, because of the seriousness, because there's a better dynamic. than if it's just something that is a video or a recorded call that we've done in the past. Don't take the easy path and just fling out recorded stuff to people. I think you will have a much stronger result in your business if you are communicating about live events and you have an urgency and you give a specific time. There's more dynamic there if they know there are other people involved than if you're just utilizing some recording stuff. So even though we do have a playback on the webinar that has been recorded, focus on getting them on the live one because there's more of a better dynamic to that. Now, let me share with you, if I could, just a couple of ideas on inviting people to these webinars and kind of the pattern that we're using. The first thing that you do, obviously, is if you have a prospect, if it's someone that's in your list, family, friend, neighbor, coworker, we all start with that list. If it's someone that you meet, obviously there has to be an invitation that happens first to see if the person is keeping their options open. And so for me, my invitation's always been very simple. I just say to my prospect, listen, I can't promise you anything, and I don't know if this would work for you or not, but I happen to be involved in an unbelievable new business. I'm working with some very successful people, and there is a chance to help a lot of people with this special company and make a lot of money. And I would love to chat with you about it. Do you keep your options open? Are you open to a way to make money, more money, outside of what it is that you currently do? Are you entrepreneurial? Could you use some more money outside of what you currently do? Okay? Well, yes. What is it, Rick? Well, it depends on what it is. Tell me what it is. That's when we now connect them to the webinar, okay? So the invite is the same as what you may have done before. Do you keep your options open? I've got something great. We can help a lot of people. We can make a lot of money. I'm working with some very successful people. Are you open? Would you be willing to take a look at this? Would you at least be willing to take a look? If they say, well, what is it? What is it? Tell me more. Now you go into the next part, which is, well, there's going to be a webinar. There's a system to this, okay? There's a system to this. There's going to be a webinar on Monday night at this time. If I get you registered for it, which will take me 2 seconds, would you be willing to commit to review that webinar, okay? And I'll register you and send you the details. And if they say yes, then you go forward and you register them and they get the details, okay? Here's another thing that I would suggest. If you're going to use these webinars, then what you should do is if you have a prospect that commits to review and watch the webinar, you can actually go to the registration page yourself and register them as long as you have their name, their email address, and their mobile phone or cell phone number. So you go and register them because, see, if you don't, if you say, hey, why don't you go and register, they may forget, okay? And as long as they're registered, the system will remind them. The system will follow up with them. So you have to make sure that you register them. You know, what is your cell phone number? What's your email address? I'll go and I'll get you the details sent over. And you go in and you register them. You put in their name, their email, and their cell phone number, and you hit the registration button, and boop, it's all over. It'll send them the confirmation, which you want them to confirm that they're registering for it. And then from that point forward, it'll send them the reminder email, the reminder text message, and then it will actually follow up with the replay if they missed the event. Even if they attended the event, it'll still send them an email that they can watch the replay again if they would like to. And so one little idea is that rather than trying to get them to register for it, you get them to commit to review it and say, I will register you right now. I'll do it for you. What's your name? What's your email? What is your phone, your cell phone? I'll register you. You're going to get an email, and it's going to just ask for you to confirm. Just click that, and you'll be registered. Now, if they don't confirm, then they don't confirm. That's just, you know, what we deal with respect to prospects. It's no different than sending them information that they don't look at. And so we'll be following up with them effectively and efficiently, but you register them, okay? Have them confirm that registration in their email. They will get an email. Have them just click the link and confirm it, and then they're in. And then what you want to do is at the time of the webinar, maybe 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before, you can send them a little text, okay? Now, the system's going to do it if you register them properly and they confirm anyways, but you could do it yourself also and say, hey, webinar's coming up, jump on. Just send them a little text message, okay? Once you've done that and you know the webinar has already happened, then follow up after the webinar. Just follow up and ask them, you know, what they like the best about it. Do they see an opportunity in it? Are they open to get more information and to talk further? And then that's real easy with respect to your follow-up. And if they miss it for some reason, if, oh, I couldn't make it, Rick, well, listen, you're going to get an email within the next, couple of hours that's going to basically tell you that there's a replay that you can watch. When you get that, be sure to watch the replay. Okay, be sure to watch the replay because it's only up for a limited time, and they will be able to watch the replay. Okay, and always be following up. There are additional tools that you can use at this point. You can send them, obviously, white paper documents. Obviously, you could get them samples. Obviously, you could do a three-way call. I like to have them watch that webinar first to really make sure that there's an interest and that they've been through a full presentation before I begin to do some of these other things. Okay? Again, I don't want to give them a small part of the picture. I want them to see a full presentation first, and then I will begin to follow up with some of the other ancillary tools. And that is the direction that I am going in because it's just so simple. It's just so simple for me to invite them to the web meeting, for them to watch that web meeting. If they miss it, they get a chance to watch the follow-up. All I'm doing is inviting and following up. That's all I'm doing, inviting, getting them registered, and then following it up. And the ones that just don't do it, again, the odds are they aren't going to do it no matter what tool you send them. Okay, it comes down to priorities. It comes down to are they in the right place and right time in their life. And all I have to do is filter, sift, and sort through my prospects to see, have you watched it? Do you want to go further with this? Have you watched it? You haven't? Well, can you watch the replay? Then I follow up again. If they haven't watched it and I've tried to follow up with them 2 or 3 times, I'm out. At that point, I'm out. I don't have a really good prospect. Okay? Now, if all else fails, and let's say that you get them registered and they don't watch it, don't review it. Let's say that they get the follow-up emails, they don't review it. If all else fails, I have recorded one of the webinars, and it's up on a YouTube video. I posted it in the Team Victory group. You can use that if all else fails, okay? So they don't watch the webinar at the time they were supposed to watch it. They haven't watched the follow-up. You can always send them that video and say, hey, we captured the most recent webinar on video. Just watch it here when you have a chance. But again, I would caution you not to send that as the first thing because then you devalue what we're doing a little bit, in my opinion, okay? So go for the live event, go for the urgency, go for the dynamics of that, then follow it up. If they review it, then move into other tools, move into the documents, the samples, the three-way calls, other videos, other things that you can send them, okay? If they don't review it, and you've tried 2 or 3 times and you're just not getting any luck, you could send them a final email with the link to the YouTube video of the business overview and say, hey, we captured one on video. Let me just have you hang on to this, watch it when you get a chance, and just get back with me when, if the timing changes for you. So you could always you always have that as your option, as your availability to do that. It's always there for you. The key here, what we're trying to accomplish with the webinar is to get them dialed into a live event with urgency, excitement, other people. We're trying to get them dialed into that dynamic. And believe me, in 22, 23 years of doing this business, that dynamic is important from a recruiting standpoint. You just don't get that with recorded stuff like videos and so on and so forth. Now, you certainly use them, but we want to try to get them through the dynamic component of that first. Now, here's the magic of a pattern like this, a system like this, where you've got webinars happening every single day. And we're doing them every day now. We're committed to have webinar take place every single day, maybe with the exception of Friday, because Friday night is date night, and it's very difficult to get people's attention Friday afternoon, Friday evening. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday night, we will conduct webinars. And the link that we use in our registration is the same. What will happen is, if it's, let's just say there's a webinar Sunday night, you go to the link and you register for the Sunday night web meeting. Once that web meeting has taken place and it's over, a couple hours later, the same link, if you go to it, it'll now show the next night, which is Monday, and you can register for Monday. So there's a couple of hour window time when one webinar concludes, then the next one kind of populates, but it's the same link. The registration link does not change, and I love that about this particular platform. As long as a couple hours passes and that original webinar has been conducted, then you can register for the next one and the next one and the next one, and that's the flow of how the pattern works. But here's the magic in this. The magic is if you can get everyone doing it. If you can get everyone doing that. Imagine if you had a team of 10 people, 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, and all they were doing was focusing on inviting people and filling up that webinar. Inviting people, driving them to the webinar, following it up, following it up, following it up. Can you imagine if you had a large group of people all focused like that on one pattern? Imagine how simple, easy, fun, and duplicatable the business would be. There would be no confusion. There would be no ambiguity about what needs to be done. There's a webinar tonight, let's drive everybody to that webinar. There's a webinar tomorrow, let's drive everybody to that webinar. And have the system actually help remind prospects and follow up with the replay. That's pretty powerful. That's a pretty powerful pattern as an initial exposure pattern. Now, you can follow up and follow through with other tools afterwards, but as a starting point on the front end, that is a very powerful pattern. Now, here's my little disclaimer. Always check with your sponsor or your upline leadership on what tools they are using, how they're approaching the business. Certainly I recognize that leaders have their own philosophies and ways to do this. I'm simply sharing with you one such way. Always stay dialed into what it is that your team is doing, okay? Now, if they're in alignment with this, then run with this. If they've got a little bit of a different pattern with a different tool, then certainly you may want to do that and defer to what it is that your team is doing. So I think, quite frankly, this is a very, very powerful pattern. I would encourage you, if you're not utilizing this right now, to consider utilizing the webinar infrastructure because it gives you clarity. It gives you definiteness of purpose. Every day when you wake up, you know your goal is to invite new people to get on the next webinar, and that's it, period. That's all you got to do. Just invite new people, get on the next webinar, and the ones that review it, then you begin to follow up with other tools and three-way calls. The ones that don't, you do the best that you can, and then you can always drop the video in their email box or text them the video afterwards anyways. And it's just all about filling the funnel. It's all about having consistency of effort, having a pattern that you are completely dialed into, and then doing it consistently and getting other people to do it as well. That is the secret to this business. If you can do something like that over a prolonged period of time, you can become very, very successful. So with that, I hope I've been able to share with you some ideas and concepts on how to best use these webinars that we're doing on a daily basis. You can get a lot of leverage in your life out of these, and I would certainly encourage you to utilize them and let it be a part of your business building process. Hey, thanks everyone. I hope you have an awesome weekend, and I look forward to communicating with you again on our next mentoring call and on calls and videos and stuff that we'll do during the course of the week. Have a great weekend. Be blessed. We love you guys, and we'll talk again here real soon.